Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
It was a primary election during a pandemic, and now we wait for the results after a historic absentee voter turnout. But first, we're following breaking news from Lansing. Just announced, Governor Whitmer declares racism a public health crisis here in Michigan. But first, breaking news on the national front this afternoon. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden will not be traveling to Milwaukee for the 2020 Democratic National Convention, and neither will any of the other speakers who will address the mostly now virtual convention. In the meantime, back here at home, Governor Whitmer has said black residents in Michigan are 4 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than white residents are due to the unequal economic and healthcare treatment and racism. Let's get out to our Rob Maloney. He joins us now with a look at the governor's plan to combat system inequity.
Well, you know, Everett, what you just said there is in large measure what the governor was talking about today, saying that the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed inequities all across the state and the healthcare system. And so what she's done is declared that racism a public health crisis. And in order to cope with that, she has decided that she's going to have an executive order creating the Black Leadership Action Council, or make that the Black Leadership Advisory Council across Michigan. And what she says she wants to do is to acknowledge and address systemic racism, wants to work with leaders all across the state. And let's hear from the governor from her press conference just in the last hour.
COVID-19 is more than 4 times as likely to take the life of a black Michigander than a white one. And this reflects long-standing, deep societal, economic, and environmental disparities. This executive directive directs MDHHS to work with other state departments to examine data, develop and plan policies, engage, communicate, and advocate for communities of color.
Now, there was a whole lot more in this news conference. It went over an hour, or almost an hour. And what we discussed had a lot to do with schools and where things are in terms of opening up schools with in-person instruction and the like. And so coming up on Local 4 News at 5 and 6, we're going to be taking a look at that and how the governor is breaking that out and where she's leaning as we get just a few weeks out. Reporting live in West Bloomfield, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
All right, Ron, thank you for the update there. It was a historic primary election here in our state of Michigan, with more than 2 million absentee ballots requested. Now, we're still waiting on the results in a few of the races due to those ballots still being counted, but here are the results of what we know right now. In perhaps the most closely watched contest, squad member Rashida Tlaib won a challenge for her House seat. Tlaib, one of the first 2 Muslim women in Congress, easily secured re-election to the 13th district. Her opponent was Detroit City Council President Brenda Jones. And in the Wayne County prosecutor's race, longtime incumbent prosecutor Kim Worthy beats Victoria Burton Harris. Dave Coulter beats Andy Meisner in the Oakland County Executive Democratic primary. And in the race to decide who will succeed or likely succeed Justin Amash in Congress, Peter Meyer gets the victory there in West Michigan's 3rd congressional Republican primary. Meyer is the grandson of Fred Meyer, and heir to the grocery store chain fortune. He will have a Democratic challenger. And in the 12th congressional district, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell has easily defeated her Democratic challenger. Now let's check in with Hank Winchester.
Some of the votes still being counted from yesterday's primary election here in Michigan, but the Secretary of State calling it a huge success. Here's why. So many of you, more than 2 million, voting absentee. But now we're looking ahead to November. What could this mean for the presidential election again if so many of you choose to vote absentee? And how will this affect clerks across the state of Michigan that are working to count your vote? We're going to have much more from the Secretary and also political insiders as we look forward to November, coming up on later editions today of Local 4 News. I'm Hank Winchester. Help me, Hank.
All righty, Hank, thank you for that. And a reminder for you, if you voted absentee, you can track your ballot online. We've put a link for you to the Decision 2020 page right there on clickondetroit.com. And that's also where you'll find the results for all of the primary races as soon as they are available. Also making headlines this afternoon, new information coming to light in a murder case that has made national headlines. Susie Zhao was found dead last month at the Pontiac Lake Recreation Center, and 60-year-old Jeffrey Morris was arrested and formally charged with murdering her on just Tuesday. Local 4 Defender Sean Lay joins us now live this afternoon at the motel where this all began. And Sean, update us on what you're hearing about this case.
Let's break some new ground on this. Evrod, you're correct. This case has gone worldwide because we're talking about a professional poker player involved in some high-stakes poker games, but then coming back to her home area and checking into the Sherwood Motel here in Waterford behind me. And then a day later, a drifter, another man, checked into the same room. Somehow the two came together and her body was found burned in a recreation area just down the road. Police giving us the update on the case. They feel confident they've cracked this case. White Lake Township police investigators say it has been an exhausting 3 weeks. First, making a horrible discovery, the burned remains of 33-year-old Susie Zhao at the Pontiac Recreation Area. Police had to track down the killer, but had little to go on. Tuesday, Jeffrey Morris, the 60-year-old from Pontiac, was charged with the murder. Police just updating us, saying Zhao's family is so relieved, and so are her friends, that someone has been caught for such a horrible crime.
This is not the end. It's rather the beginning in a pursuit of justice for Susie and her family.
Back here live, police just updating us. It was our first chance to ask a lot of questions about what they know about this case and what our sources are telling us. However, we're just scratching the surface. Later on Local 4, we're going to talk about how these two knew each other and how police tracked down this man, plus many other questions that the community now has. But again, police feel very confident they have the right guy in custody. Has been charged with murder. We're live in Waterford at this noon hour. Sean Lay, Local 4 Defenders.
All right, Sean, we know you'll stay on top of it. Thank you for the update there. Let's turn our attention now to the coronavirus and here in Michigan, where we're hearing that there are 664 new cases and 7 more lives lost. 5 of those deaths were from previous dates. We're also learning that Rochester Community Schools will start the year with remote learning until October 1st at least. On the national front, Johns Hopkins University reports more than 4.7 million cases have been reported since testing began, and 156,000 deaths have been reported here in the U.S. USA Today reports the cruise ship industry will not sail in U.S. waters until October 31st at the earliest. That's a month later than the CDC's original no-sail order was going to be lifted. And testing for the coronavirus vaccine begins here in Detroit. The first few people to be tested got their shots this morning at Henry Ford Health System. The vaccine is from Moderna, and this is all part of a national vaccine study. Dr. Anthony Fauci of the White House Coronavirus Task Force says that he believes there will be a vaccine by the end of the year. Meanwhile, 2 of the 3 Detroit casinos are open again after months of being shut down because of the pandemic. Just before 10 a.m., crowds started piling in. Some people waiting hours to get in because there's a 15% capacity limit. Now, before anyone is allowed in, there's a health screening along with other safety measures in place once you enter the casino. Greektown opened to VIPs this morning, and they'll open to the general public a little bit later this afternoon. People we spoke with are pretty excited to see the casinos are open again.
We was tired of driving to Toledo and Mount Pleasant, so we got up early and came down here and waited.
Hopefully we'll win some money in case we get closed in again with the COVID.
MGM Grand not open just yet. They say that they're going to be open on Friday at 10 a.m. All right, at this noon hour, we do want to keep you updated on your forecast for you. Let's take a look outside, a beautiful skyline here in Detroit. Meteorologist Brandon Rue is standing by with a look at your lunchtime forecast. Brandon?
Hey, Evrod. Good afternoon. Happy hump day, and what a beauty we have. Can you believe we're still tracking some 60s and 70s here at the lunch hour? Hope you're having a great day. Let's take a look at some of those numbers as we take a live look in Ann Arbor. 73 degrees at Metro, 70 in Ann Arbor, just getting out of the 60s there. Pontiac is 67, 71 in Adrian. Temperatures on their way to about 76 degrees. A nice breeze out of the west, 5 to 12, and a nice blend of sun and clouds. Any spritzes or sprinkles? Doubtful, but the best chance would be up Genesee County, up into the Thumb, our north zone, but even that very unlikely. So our stretch of good weather begins today, Evrod. 7-day forecast shows that summer heat also coming back.
All righty. Brandon, thank you so much. Still to come, officials continue searching for survivors and answers after that massive explosion in Beirut. We'll tell you what we're learning next.